Welcome, Astral, Ice, Uncle Kev, and Arnold. Good to see you. New week, so new opportunities. Yes. Welcome, Christina and Mike. Good to see everyone. Teachers as well, of course. Let's wait a little longer for some people to join. And then we go into the price section. Okay, welcome, Roosting as well. Good to see you in the chat. So let's start. We had, if we zoom first out, clean up the chart a bit. Of course, crazy moves last week, especially since we made this high. It has been almost straight down, and especially last week it was nuke only. But we have finally taken out that ultimate low from February. So far, seeing some sort of a buyback, which is not weird after taking such an important level. But yeah, on the high time frame, still it looks pretty heavy. But we reached a very significant level. If we look at the former range, which was here, which was around 120 days or something, which was the last long consolidation before we eventually started the uptrend into new all-time highs. We are now retesting basically the POC and value area low of that level again. So that's a pretty significant level. And then down below we have some more levels. Like if we really start to nuke further, 40k is also a big level. But overall, I think I would not be surprised, at least if we, after this sweep, spend quite some time just at these levels. Overall, I think my like maybe it can of course also go a bit lower to 50 something, but I think in the long run that we are starting the same as here, but then to the downside. So we had range here, breakdown, range, breakdown, range, potential breakdown, but so far we are not seeing the same as we did with the last range, for example, where we ranged and then nuked down straight. Right now we see that we take the low and see some sort of a reaction, so that's already better than here. But on like the 4 hour, still this needs a lot of time to look anything like bullish, because still everything is pointing lower. We don't even have 4 hour structure anywhere here. Our first 4 hour structure is all the way up around 74.5k. So this can all come all the way back up here and still put in a higher low. So coming weeks will be pretty interesting to see if we hold near these levels or that we just continue down. If we look at this week's price action, last Friday we had this range where we were looking mainly for that model 1 with a nice liquidity trail. We had tab 1, we had tab 2, and then here before the stream I mentioned how we at this local structure down, so low, lower high, lower low, lower high, lower low, and that in this move that there was no structure to break back to bullish, which was why our main attention was on looking for another sweep for a potential model 1, but not a model 2. Eventually that also played out, but instead of a model 1, price just nuked further down. I gave it one attempt last Friday when price was at the deviation threshold, yeah, which was around here. I saw price wicket come back below, so for me that was one try. It was not valid at all, but if we would have seen a bounce from anywhere, it would have been from there. So I gave it one a try, but eventually got stopped out. And then in the evening, I saw this move below that wick. So first we took out the wick from February, bounce, another move down, and then it was on the very, very low time frame where we had some sort of a sweep, where I took that long, like here we had very tiny SFP and then a reaction above. So there I took another long, and that is what I cashed out last night around these levels. And right now price is yeah, pretty stable. If we look at it from this perspective, my main aim was this start of a liquidity trail, but I woke up in the night. I was not even planning to keep an eye on it. I was just had my TP here, but I woke up and I saw this nasty wick right on the weekly open. So I just put my stop loss there to realize like 6R, which was pretty nice. And right now I'm simply waiting. We have this local uptrend to keep an eye on with high, high, low, high, 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 low, high, high, and with clean range demand below us. So price can still come back here for a higher low, for a higher high to take out this resting liquidity. And then from here we have the first real trouble area, which is like the imbalance with this supply above. And we can see that some of the anchored VWAPs are for the first time showing up here. So that's a pretty big level for the start of the week. And what we locally have, which is pretty funny, and I talked about it with one of the coaching members today. I'm not sure. There he is. He's in the stream as well. But we talked about how my way of drawing ranges is pretty different from what other people do. But if you just look at the range, technically we are turning up, turning down. So they can pull it from high to low as always. And then we have one at the low, sweep of the low, reaction back. And then this is technically within your deviation threshold. So if you just look at it this perspective, it's 1, 2, 3, break back in your range, value area aligned with, oh, that's not my value area. Value area aligned with the break back to bullish. So technically this is just a model 1. It's not a good one. We also did not tap into this demand, which would have been cleaner. But technically you can see it as a model 1. And what's funny is, our favorite model is the model 1 flowing over into a model 2. And if we look at this model 1, which got confirmed on like this break, came back in the range. At that moment, our extreme liquidity, which is your first higher low after your tap 3, in the case of a model 1 into model 2, price took extreme liquidity and tapped into this extreme demand, potentially for a test in which this is your tap 4. Did we have internal structure? Yeah, kind of right here. Lower high, lower low, break. So here you break it back to bullish, which technically confirms this as your fourth tap. And then this is the technical target. Like not a clean model, but technically it is tradable. 1, 2, 3, break. Took out this liquidity. Then an aggressive sell-off. But just to take more liquidity mitigate this demand, and now potentially going for that target, the model 1 into the model 2, which locally looks like this. And if we zoom out, you will see that those wicks, 1, 2, 3. So let's see if this goes to target, but I think it will. And then this was another model, not easy to trade, also with the timing not, but technically it's valid. And I was happy to see Kegels traded like that, because this is just a valid trade. So I have now my alerts at the high right there and at this demand, and that's where I'm looking for new trades. So for BTC, nothing to do for me until we take out the start of liquidity trail into that supply, or maybe take it out. If we distribute, then look for demand below and see if we can get longs from there again. But in the long run, I think this will eventually turn into a new range. So if we look at it on a clean chart, then let's delete that, took out the ultimate low right there. And I think this can maybe have some more juice higher up, then come back. And then I think this is the most likely scenario where we have our low from last week. Now look, where is our high getting formed? Then if we come back to the mid-range, it's always that this is our range low, that is the range high, and that we then tap mid-range, and from there can look for new models. And if we then, for example, SFP you're low again, then we can play the range with high probability setups. Long range low, short range high. I think for now that's the most likely scenario. So let's see how that forms. It's still Monday, so still early in the week. But overall, I think pretty good trading conditions. Other than that, it's also funny to see that we, for the first time since the bearish trend started here, we are now flipping the trend to bullish. So any move back down here can offer new longs for potentially higher. Welcome, Matt, as well. Jules, all I want for June is a range, and I'll be happy. Yeah, will be really clean. But if we look at it from a big perspective, maybe this is the range already to look at. Like the thing is always, just as what was here, sentiment at the range high is always super bullish, and at the range low always super bearish. This time again, we are at range low and people call 40k, 30k, 20k, but it's the exact sentiment you want after taking out the range low. And then if this squeezes higher, people will already call, oh, the bottom is in, the bottom is in. And then eventually this can just be one massive range for the coming weeks, maybe even months. So locally, yeah, I'm not in that local model. Otherwise, I would have waited for that high to be taken. But personally waiting for reaction here or reaction down there. If we look at USDT, we see what is happening there. Okay, let's have a look at that in a moment, because this is getting interesting. But let's clean it up. The only level on this chart that we have to work with is the main high created here that week. Beside that, price yeah, it still remains super strong. We took out this ultimate high and are now for the first time showing some sort of local weakness. But even 4-hour structure is all the way down here. 1 hour is yeah, even 1 hour structure is down here. But we have created some supply levels on the way up. A weak supply right here, then this consolidation break, untested, and here also high, high, low, high, high break. So can watch for the reactions there, and there if we get a bounce. And the more important structure low is this red line with that demand resting below it. So let's see how this develops. Here is quite some liquidity. So maybe if we take that high break structure, can short it down there. But then overall, I expect the same as for BTC, in which this is likely our range high, and we are now searching for the range low. That could be maybe going down to here, and that is then our new main range to work with for the time being. So I have alerts at the supply and demand zones, and just watching for now. Not really anything too clean till we at least start taking out either this low or that high. So alert there, and then see what we get to work with. Regarding, let's quickly go to WLD, because this one has been pretty strong. Look at it, the overall trend here, clean uptrend, and the price nuked last week together with the whole market, but it essentially came down for this strong demand zone, which created that last move into the local highs. And then here we also see, like, it's not super clean. It's kind of a model 2, but forming that in such an important demand zone tells you that there's still demand willing to pick prices up here. And after that, price started this high, high, low, high, 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 low, can all the way down here, potentially for higher high. So I'm watching for that move into this level. Local trend is bullish. Trend also flipped bullish right here. So I was looking at it from 2 ways, which I discussed both as well earlier. But you can pull your range. How I like to pull it is just from high to low. And then you have tab 1 at the high, tab 1 at the low, tab 2, tab 3. So we have it right here. Tab 3. We have 5-minute structure, I believe, right here. That was broken to bullish. So there you can see it as a 1, 2, 3 break. Can this flow over into a model 1, into model 2 to trade towards that high? And then it combines a bit because you can pull it from high to low, in which we have a model 1. But you can also decide what some people prefer, to pull your range from low to high. In that case, you only have tab 1 and tab 2. But then after we broke structure to bullish, you are essentially more interested here in a model 2 compared to a model 1. So no matter which way you look at it, from pulling it here to here, in which we have 1, 2, 3, or pulled from here, it comes down to the same, which is that we want to see a reaction here to print the basically 4 tap of the accumulation. So if we look at it from this perspective, we have a model 1. Now we are looking for model 2. This is our extreme demand. We don't have structure into our demand zone, so that's a little bit unfortunate, because now there's no way to confirm the break of structure. but that can change. We can, for example, bounce, come lower to mitigate the lower part of the demand. And if you then flip it, then this is our fourth step. And then we can trade it from there. So let's see, alert at the refined demand, which is the start of that impulse. Right there. And a little, we created also some supply, which we need to be aware of. Well, essentially that's already mitigated. So the attention is on these levels. Not in a hurry because this move down is pretty strong, but preferably best case scenario is to get supply mitigation, structured way down, tap extreme demand, flip bullish, and then this is our fourth step. Then on the break it's a long towards that high. That will be the picture perfect scenario. So let's see if it gives something to work with. Maybe VLT will give VLT. Welcome, Sudo, as well. Chart request. Maybe later. Then we'll first go over the hype and gold, which are my main assets. So let's watch what VLD will do, if we can get an entry. Yeah, I think BTC will take out that high to complete the accumulation. USDT already explained. Gold made a nasty move down last week with that news event, and high time frame is looking pretty heavy. There's not really any get rid of the fib. There's not much or almost no demand down here, and we have super clean downtrend here. Technically low, lower high, low low, lower high, low low, swing fill, lower low. So interproeven otherwise lower high for a lower low is most likely. So I have alerts at these supplies to see what happens. And if you look at the 3-day, we have, for example, massive wick on the daily also. And oftentimes price likes to fill at least 50% of that wick, which is around this. So that white dotted line is the wick fill. So there are reasons to go there, but that's what I'm mainly looking at. We had a local bullish break right here with some demand. So maybe we can watch for this and then shorts there to trade it lower. But overall, I always like to have my range, and this is not really a setup yet. Like a clean setup would be if we now tap mid-range, have tab 1 the low, tab 1 at the high, and then another sweep with structure. That would give a high probability setup. So I'm watching it. I will not be surprised if we do this and then go higher, but it's not really a trade I like to take. But main interest is reactions at this level, where we have basically this whole block is supply, but the most important one is we trend it down, low, lower high, and then broke this heavy to bearish. So this is the main supply zone to watch. With this local one below it, which also aligns with the fib, I believe. Fib there, yeah. So this is the level to look for shorts until proven otherwise. Okay, it would be nice if this follows the plan to tap supply, come down, give structure, and then trade it like this. Let's see if it wants to give that. And hype, I talked about it yesterday, but I did not look at it anymore. But it was in that super clean, or not super clean, but a clean 1, no, 2, bullish break, left demand behind, extreme demand, mitigated that demand. But this is where you have like a model 2, but not with confirmations to trade it, which is a bit harder because you have your 1, you have your 2, and after that, like here we have pretty clean low, lower high, lower low, lower high, lower low, lower high, lower low, then a clean break. And because we break it cleanly, leading up into the second tap, we know that we can look for the model 2 instead of the model 1 because we have that clean break right here. So price here came up pretty high, but then it made lower high, lower low. Then it tapped into extreme demand. But to validate this as your third tap, you need to break structure back to bullish. But since this is the only structure, you can technically only validate this as your fourth tap if you break structure right here. But then it's already high up in your range. So this is a clean model 2, but not a tradable one. But what is more important is that if we look at it from the range perspective, we have range low, range high, second tap, and then the break above. But then you can force a distribution. But if we look at structure, was it 4 hour? Yeah, then on the 4 hour we have low, lower high, lower low, break. So this is where you need to combine your range with your structure to not force a distribution just because it takes the high. Here you have a 4 hour break, especially above here. So it's more likely that price just retests the highs before moving up further, which is eventually also what we did because we pushed, retested it, technically just a successful range demand before pushing higher. There was not really an entry beside just a simple demand mitigation and the continuation of the internal bullish trend with high, higher low, higher high, higher low, higher high. But if we take the low there, like again, not every move is per se a trade as well. And you can predict everything right, but that does not mean that it also makes you money. We kind of had equal highs here. Like if you swept this low like that, then this could have been looked at it from an reaccumulation into demand in alignment with your bullish trend. Then that's a super clean long. But right now we did not take the low. It seems like we had exact equal lows. Oh, it's slightly too deep. Maybe we had to go on the lower time frame then. Let's see, just for fun, was it tradable? So we have range low, range high, sweep. There's not really demand. There's no demand left behind. Like you could say this is your extreme demand mitigation. There's no break of structure in this move, but you have a break here, in which you could say this is your step 3, break above, and then you see again this demand is in full control. Because essentially this is our break. So yeah, with the right bias it could have been a trade, but not an easy one to take. But this is all super local. The bigger picture is that this shows quite a lot of strength because we have accumulations locally, not really tradable, but it shows that there's demand, and price is now just rallying higher. So there are 2 big levels I'm watching for potential shorts, although I'm not really fading a 4-hour bullish break with clean demand creations. We are also creating new demand right here. So this can also just be higher low, higher high, but we have 2 clean supply levels to look at, which is technically this level, which is around the 0.5 retracement, and then this is the super strong one. So let's see where price brings it, and then if there's clean weakness in one of these levels, so this is also 1 hour clean supply. So this is first trouble zone. This is basically just a continuation zone we can look for, and then the big level is around there. So interesting chart to work with. Not exactly at this moment, but for the coming days. Clean levels, and this is now also our hourly structure low. So this is a PY for potential longs, this for shorts, and there for shorts. Pretty clean. Basically this whole zone is now demand. Why doesn't it want too big? Right there. Starting at that level. Welcome Abby to the chat as well. So simple plan, alert there, and just watch the reaction. But yeah, cool. Clean to see that demand is still present on the high. So gold talked about UCT locally trending down, and also if we look at the trend, you can see that it has been bullish literally from right here, which was end of May, full bullish trend all the way up, and right now it's flipping bearish. So it's not that we now nuke straight, but for the first time it's showing trend change. So that either means you enter a range, which is often the case after a strong uptrend, that you range for a bit and then potentially either continue or break down. But it's telling us that at least for now, the trend is stalling a bit and potentially even swifting. So here, if we just respect the new trend, it's low, lower high, lower low, lower high, lower low, give a redistribution right here, and we can just bring it to this big level. Start accumulating here. We can also look for longs on this, but this is again where context matters a lot. Like the easier play here is to trade a distribution simply because we are trending down locally. We have clean supply above, trend is down, and context wise, this is not a super clean level to accumulate simply because we have a lot of liquidity right below it. So I think this is a bigger level. form a range there and accumulate there, that makes more sense to me to look for accumulations. This is a weird spot, in my opinion, to form an accumulation. Redistribution makes sense to redistribute, bring it here, and then from there potentially accumulate. So basically that. And then is WLT doing something? Look, the good thing is that we first had no structure. Right now, if we make a new low, which we are close to do, which means that we internally now have structure. Low, lower high, lower low, break, and then we can validate our forte. So that's interesting to in a short term for potential trade. Beside that, let's have a look at quickly first BrighterData. I didn't look at it because it was early in the week, but it's now New York. So the daily. Look, this is bullish. 58% closed bullish, 42% closed bearish, 70% took out the low later, which is low, and 75% took out the high later. So making new highs is most likely, and then taking out that wick high super close. So that's also close by. Here almost 80% close bullish. So it seems that we have statistically more likely to have a bullish day. But it's still early, so I'm not really paying too much attention. I'm more interested to see if the order flow is telling us something. Let's first look at the 30. Yeah, so we reached like big levels, which is like low 60Ks. But open interest is just going down and mostly flat, which is pretty rare for such a big level. Oftentimes you see it ramp up or again get nuked with a lot of positions getting wiped out. That's not really the case, which is pretty weird in some case. CVD also not much, there's not a lot of positioning. In which I think a range eventually is most likely, just to create new liquidity, and then the market makers can from there take liquidity again to the upside or downside. But you should not forget that on the way down, we left a lot of stuff behind. So we have these daily point of controls, which in long run act as magnets, because price likes to retest them, but that are all levels where you can reject from. So first one at 67, 71, and these one are a big. And if we look at the liquidations, like it changed already quite a bit. With markets eventually always move just from liquidity to liquidity. So they're looking what is the easiest way to grab liquidity. And it was definitely on the downside, and a whole lot has taken. There's still much, we really zoom out, more to be taken lower. But there's also a lot to the upside, as we can see. Like above 80K, a lot of liquidity. And more locally, we can also see that also at these levels, some is brightening up. It's not much. But yeah, markets just work on liquidity. So if the easier liquidity for them is to the upside, then they will just push price there to take those shorts out and then eventually go lower again. Okay, that's mostly it. I haven't really looked at the other charts yet. You can have a quick look at For example, just what is Sol doing? Yeah, like a lot of coins, like Sol. Some look interesting. Hype, holding much better. Wheel D, some of those alts have interesting charts, but like Sol, this yeah, took out that low, but for now also still holding below that low. So that can also just be nuked down. No structure in this leg, big supply above. So like this is a chart I'm not really interested in. There's a lot of, we went basically slowly down, which also means that on the way up there's not really much liquidity or like supply overhead. So if this starts taking out, it can also squeeze pretty quickly. But that's more hoping for it to happen, and this is showing like a clean setup. So I don't like Sol at this point. It can change if we get more price action, but at this moment I don't really like it. What is Tau doing? Yeah, so Tau basically broke down from this range, could give a bearish retest, and then eventually still get to that main POI down here to take this liquidity into this demand. Locally, I'm interested in potential higher low for a higher high, because we have a structure break on the 1 hour with clean demand. So you can see it like here, 4 hour did not break bullish, but we have those candles going higher, leaving this range demand behind. So you can see it as range, break, mitigate, continue. And then also for hype to, it can just retest that range low, which is around here. But also here you can see that it's mostly just easy liquidity to grab. So here I'm basically looking, do we get a retest of that range demand with structure, and then take it into that big level around 240, and then just close it there, or see what the reaction will be. This is pretty clean level to look for potential longs. So also alerted there, but just waiting. This is basically in between noise. ETH is similar to Sol, still holding below that main low, in which this can still be just a failed range reclaim. No structure at all on a 4 hour. It reached the first level of supply. So we have basically this local uptrend. But if this is showing any weakness with like a model 1, 2, 3 break, and this is just a clean short. This is a pretty big level around 1760. But also here not really a high probability setup or anything. Now just breaking bull, see if it's a strong break or just a sweep. And then if that aligns with weakness into this level, could be potential early high of the week to keep an eye on. But again, I like to watch for the clean models like Wheel D. I like BTC more, that showed some accumulative behavior and stuff. Here, yeah, I don't. It's more like ETH is just following Bitcoin more or less, but without clean market maker involvement. Mostly just following it. no clean signs of accumulation or anything, while BTC is showing that much better. And that are basically the coins. Yeah, Fed took out the range low after deviating the high back at the low. If this range holds, we can just look to play that range further. Shorts at the highs, longs at the lows. But beside that, still early in the week, so I'm not forcing anything, especially not since that nice long. So I'm simply mostly waiting for BTC demand here or weakness above, or high, long or short, and most local watching to see if we get the 4 tap. Come down on wheel D for longs. So that's mostly it. Wheel D train to break balls, still supply above. Yeah. Yeah, I would like to see it mitigate this range demand. We zoom out. Yeah, tap this demand, then I'm interested in longs. We front run this one. It would be clean if this was mitigated on that third tap. We did not do it, but it doesn't necessarily have to happen. This is the main plan. If we already shoot up, then it goes without me. Fine with it. Like we're fine supply there. Yeah, so are there any questions? Still Monday. Monday is often just preparing for the week ahead. But I like how the charts are developing. I with that kind of rounded bottom, which can just bring it higher again. Yeah, sure. Have time for request or two could take a look at lighter. Super interesting. No, only started to look at it today. Should I jump it? Sure. Lit. I haven't looked at it myself at all. So let's. That's bullish boss. Did not take out that low. Would have been cleaner, but doesn't have to happen. Wondering if there will be a. Yeah. Yeah, I think this one has potential. Because hype has, you always have those people that have profits or want to are think that they are too late for hype, and then they simply start to look for a similar project with a lower market cap just to pick up. Here demand got mitigated, and here we simply don't have much supply. Well, we had some supply right here, which got mitigated. And on the 18-hour, which is basically more or less the same, on the daily we have this uptrend. Okay, that's showing strength. Let's see. New supply created right here. New. Overall looks pretty clean because each time it SFPs the low, as you can see here, it comes into demand, swing fills that low again, and then pushes higher, which is a bit similar as what we had here, as to what we have here. Again, in clean demand, and then swing failing it. If it can push above here, then it can simply just continue. But are you looking for long, like a long spot buy? Demand mitigated. Essentially, you don't want to go much lower than here. Like even this lowest demand got mitigated. If we look at it from a range, then we have SFP break. With this being your main break. And that one is leaving behind basically this as your range demand. Untested. So this can be a long POI. Which would then be kind of model 2. If you get something like this. Which would be in line with the this bullish trend of high, high low, higher high, higher low, higher high. And I really like how this looks pretty similar to what we had here. And it looks pretty damn similar. Where here you also have step 2. Then basically this is your bullish break. Price comes up. takes liquidity and then moves up. So also here it doesn't have to come out to the lowest part, but at least a mitigation of the top. And you can look at something similar as what happened here. Where you take, mitigate some demand, and then continue the uptrend. And this is easiest because we are just in a bullish main trend. So any accumulation you can get is tradable. Yeah, it's worth keeping an eye on. If there is something, keep me up to date. What is we? Ooh. Seems like it now wants to go without us. Mm. Yeah, so the deeper demand is not mitigated, but basically this whole zone is mitigated. So this can already be tap 4 of the model 1 into the model 2, but not really how I like to trade it, because we don't have still no break of structure. There's no structure here. So technically this is technically still our high to break. Which is really unfortunate, because if this low would have taken out that low, then this was your bullish break. And then this was your entry, that your stop loss, and this your target. So now I'm gonna see if we can file another complaint to Bybit, add it to the books. Let's see if Binance did give structure. No. But it did mitigate this demand. Yeah, so this also did not give, if this low was taken out, then you have this as your boss. So this can be an example of idea and everything being on point, but not getting the entry confirmation. But that's just a bit unfortunate. But since you already have your 1, 2, 3 break, you don't often get the exact thing you want for the model 1 into model 2. But I still like to just stick to the rules and wait for that break. Or if you want to play differently, for example, not wait on a break, because technically you are already in a confirmed model 1, in which this is your invalidation. But then I would, for example, look for that demand mitigation, see buyers step in, and then use that third tap as your invalidation. And then target that high, which would have been a nice play. But I always want structure on my hand, a clean structure break, in order for it to be my invalidation. So if I want to trade the model 1 into the model 2, I need that clean structure break. Otherwise, this is not a good invalidation. So then you have to use a good invalidation, which is then your third tap. Still gonna wait. Yeah, I think this can already take off without me, but that's part of the game. And while not being above this, it could still come down, mitigate it, break, and then go. But otherwise, it's just good analysis, but no money to be made. So I think everything is clean. I think it can be a pretty interesting trading week, to be honest. I'm only there for half of the week, but maybe we can still snap some with it. I'm glad with that long I took. It was not a really clean setup, but it was just too clean to not take it after that crazy sweep. Bearish sentiment was pretty high. Everyone was calling for 30k. If you do that at such a significant level, then sometimes it's just worth a try. And now let's see if we get further bullish moves. Technically, this can just be our uptrend to wash locally, but we should not forget that the high time frame trend is, if you look at those anchored VWAPs, they are aligning here. So it's not a weird place to reject. But what is often the case is that we had this crazy downtrend. Everyone, like most people, long or did not short it and tried to long it, took losses to losses, are now bearish because everyone called for 30, 40k. And that people now started to become bearish and will start to short the first sign of weakness. But sentiment wise, I think most people are now, they missed this move up, so they will all start to look for shorts. But I don't have a feeling that you don't want to short the first little sign of weakness. Just wait for like clean distributions, then it will be a play. But sentiment wise, I think most people are now watching for shorts, and that's often the case, or often when that is the case, price can just rally higher, use them as liquidity till they ran out of shorts to take out, and then price comes down, and then just builds a range, liquidity to the upside, liquidity downside, and then you take the highs and lows again. Same as always. But yeah, I think for now plan is clear. If there are questions, let me know. Welcome, Dylan. Thanks, you have trading. Oh yeah, Bitunix has nice campaigns indeed. BLD before I close off. Look, maybe it wants to still grab us in. If we're not too focused on the 1 minute, it might give us an entry here. Otherwise, just an example of clean analysis, but no trade. So thanks everyone for tuning in. If you see setups, anything, make sure to share them in the Discord as well. And then I'm looking forward to this short trading week for me, but will be plenty of opportunities as always. So thanks everyone for tuning in, and I see you in the Discord.